Alright, so we got Theamine, so now I think it's a good time to talk about or revisit topics about rosters, remains, and alt, since the landscape of the game has changed quite a bit. I want to start by addressing a topic I've seen. There are Western players that are ultra mad at Korean creators because they believe they set us up for failure. And while they did influence us to run 6-man rosters, I recall most of them saying have a 6-man roster but also have 5 alts and funnel to 1 main, which turned into I have 6 mains and now I can't afford them all. Around the time we were getting the game launched here in the West, they were only up to Brel. Where we are having this problem now in the game, this is where people are thinking about this is where we have Ivory Tower and Theamine, which is 4 raids above Brel. On top of that, there is the content cadence, which is the release schedule, and then downtime. Because our release schedule is so fast, raid to raid to raid, we didn't have that much downtime. So we've lost like a year of weekly gold gain and just drops and getting materials. We just don't get that. The first part of that is the idea of 6 mains then does make sense to people who played the KR because they did have a lot of downtime to earn gold and build up that character and basically make back most, if not all, of the investment in that downtime. They didn't know that we would lose a lot of the farm time that they had. They also had no idea on how aggressive the honing would get, and also that they would introduce systems with the sole purpose of just deleting gold. So let's segue onto these gold sinks. The main reason why players are starting to feel this remorse for 6 mains is because the progression post 1580 and these gold sink systems like I just mentioned. As we'll see a little later in the video, the cost of pushing past 1580 is ridiculous. And then we're talking about elixirs and transcendence from Ivory Tower and Theamine respectively. These systems were unapologetically designed to delete gold out of the KR community, meaning they were purposely expensive because they felt like players weren't spending enough gold and there was just too much gold floating around in that economy. So as a region who had 12 less months to farm up gold, farm up materials and everything like that, so people had to buy more materials if they want to push, logically these systems should got nerfed, but only purple elixirs did, and that's not good enough. Most players skip purple elixirs just to go straight to legendary elixirs because of the caps on them. Now they did say they want to address these systems, they didn't say how, but the fact is that we didn't get these systems for our launch. And these are systems that, again, were designed for the KR economy, not ours. But if we look at this Reddit poll on the elixirs, 2,300 votes, only about 1/4 of them got away with spending under 100k to get their 40 set elixir, going upwards to 500k plus and still not completing their 40 set. And mind you, this is just completing your 40 set, this is not min-maxing it. So there is still a lot more gold to spend if you actually want to min-max it. Now if we look at Transcendence, this guy claims here that on average he spent anywhere from 500 to 800,000 gold. 800,000 gold being more of a min-max in the entire system situation. So when you get to 2 systems that are going to cost you probably about over 1 million gold, it's pretty obvious why a lot of players are feeling this resent and remorse. Which yeah, regretting your decision, perfectly fine. But as we talked about in the previous topic, the Korean creators would have had no idea that this game would have evolved like this or our version would have been so much faster. So I think with all these gold sinks, with how the game has changed and how it's designed, how they want you to progress, it's time for everybody to really lock in on one main. Really get that one character jacked so it doesn't have that much time doing the latest content, especially if you pug, because you know the hardest gate in the game is getting into a party on Party Finder. Supports still get away with murder, but if you are playing a DPS and you're trying to do a lot of raid free clear content, you pretty much do have to overgear the content quite a bit. And while this was kind of a minor thing in the past, I think this is very much going to be a thing for Theamine G3 normal. If you are attempting to pug G3 normal as like a 1610, no elixirs, all level 7 gems, people are just going to see you as a rat and they're just going to not invite you and they're just going to look for people who have invested more in their characters. It's not about your character being able to do the content, it's about you competing with other people for the slot to do the run. So between honing, elixirs, transcendence, and gems, yeah, it's time to lock in. Obviously, you can bypass these pain points by swiping, which is probably what they're hoping. Create a problem, sell a solution, just like any other pay-to-win game. So I pulled the Dubala and put a little information here on a sheet. I figured since I was talking about locking in a main, I should really talk about, for newer players especially, to see kind of where you should put ults. Some real basic stats and numbers for the major parking points. Parking as low as 1490, and if you're down bad, 1620. Now the 1490 bracket is a bit messy because you naturally get to push your way up to 1520 without honing. As most of you know, if you're doing Brel, you're unlocking Brel gear, which is going to naturally increase your item level from 1490 to 1520, which at 1500 you get access to Brel G3. So at 1490 before G3, you're looking at 9,900 gold a week. And then once your item level 1500, you can do Gate 3, which ironically gives you 1500 more gold. At this point in the game, people are probably going to be happy with like a 5-3 and at least purple color gems, so level 5. 7s would definitely help you in Party Finder. The greatest thing about this parking spot is the fact that you don't have to spend gold every time you're trying to tap your homes. 1540 is the next major park point, and you're really not taking home that much more gold. 1600 to 3100 comparing to 1490 or 1500 characters. Now, according to Maxwell, on their average honing from 1520 to 1540 on NA East, it's 33k gold. To me, this feels like quite a bit for this item level, but I'm not going to test this myself, so we trust. So for a character to make back that investment on that push, we're looking at 10 to 20 weeks on just raw raid gold. A character parked here can get away with the same gear, like the 5x3 and probably level 7 gems. But the great thing about the 1540 bracket is, one, you can get and use ancient accessories. Ancient accessories are the current final tier, and because of that, if you get a good drop, it's going to be able to sell for a lot. Since the caps on relic accessories are much lower, it makes them less desirable, which means it's really harder to get a valuable relic drop. When it comes to using these accessories, this character can now create a 5-3+1 build, and if you make it good enough, you can just make this your final build. Now, when you're 1580, your weekly raid gold goes up by 10k, but the cost of going up to this push is going to be around 129k, again, according to Maxwell's calculator for NA East. So we're looking at 13 weeks. At this point in the game, groups are going to be more interested in characters with that 5-3-1 build, and then all level 7s with at least some level 9s. You can definitely get away with a 5-3 in all level 7s, but you might be spending a little bit more time in Party Finder. And if you play a support, you can probably still just get away with being an absolute cheapo rat. The major perks to a 1580 character, besides just doing more fun raids, is that you get access to the upper materials of tier 3. At the time of this video, this is the final material in the game, so the value of the stones and leaf stones that you're getting is going to be much higher than they would be in any other bracket before this. But if you're selling or funneling off these extra mats you're getting, a 1580 character will probably make back its cost a lot quicker, because again, that 13 weeks is just saying that it's raw raid gold. But the value of these materials are pretty good right now still in NA East. Now, 1620 is the down bad tier. While you might be getting a little over 14k more gold every week, but it looks like you're going to be spending about 609k on average on NA East to get there. 10 to 20 weeks on catching up on raw raid gold wasn't that bad in the other one, but now we're looking at 42 weeks of raw raid gold to make back. That's rough, and that is just on honing. Because again, these are characters that you're going to want to invest on Transcendence and Elixirs. At this point, this is where people actually have their mains, so they're going to be expecting more out of characters. They're going to be expecting the 5-3+1. They're going to expect most, if not all, level 9s, and hopefully some level 10s. So if we're looking at the earlier breakpoints, 1490, 1540, 1580, the cost to hone and how much you're getting, they actually go up decently well together. It's almost consistent / linear. It's really only that 1620 area where you're getting a linear gold gain, but a really exponential gold cost. For that reason, I don't really think it's realistic for a lot of people to push their ults past 1580. I think for newer players, you should spend some time parked at every tier up to 1580 and then really contemplate if you really want to go past that. On ults, that is. We're not talking about the main. Because the gold gain difference isn't that huge, and the greatest thing about parking ults at every park point for a while is you're going to be accumulating a lot of materials while you're just parked there. So when you do decide that you want to push up these characters, you're going to have a lot of shards and you're going to have a lot of bound and unbound materials to just push this character and only spend gold on the taps itself. Now, something also to note is that there is more chances for Corpo drops as far as Fate Embers goes, because there is a higher gold cap depending on your item level which chaos dungeon you're doing, along with Guardian raids. So there's another hopium copium about pushing up. Overall, I would say that you're going to have a little more fun playing a 1580 ult than you would at 1540 or 1490, and that's because the characters are going to feel more complete, the class is going to feel more complete, thus it's going to feel more fun. Now, if you see my roster video, you know I don't quite follow this. I am pushing characters to 1620 and I am even benching characters at 1600 and 1610. I am making horrible financial choices for my account for the sake of having a more diversified and fun roster for me. But the truth is, and what I really want to talk about is, the reason why I push characters this high is because I play with a static. I can play what I want without really worrying about being gatekept, and also I don't have to worry too much about my gearing. Not that many of my characters are really rat tier, but they're not super jacked either. If I had to deal with going through Party Finder for every raid, I would probably still have 5 ults parked at 1580. Probably have them like 1590 just to make their Party Finder experience a little faster. You also see a lot of streamers still push a lot of characters up this high, and that's because it's basically the infinite content cheat. Along with that, you can also use that to play with your community. But for the average player, what I'm getting at is you probably want to park sooner than later. So to wrap things up, there is no doubt that the NA community really pushed 6 characters really high. A lot of us didn't really go for funneling and a lot of us went 6 mains. NA by far is a much smaller community than KR, but we're a very hardcore community. But due to the changing game design of the game, I think it is very beneficial to focus on a single character at this point. I do not think we're going to get any honing nerfs post 1580. I'm pretty sure they just want to make the 1580 to 1600 push painful, just so people can cope about advanced honing in the future. Like, hey, it's bad getting here, but after that it's going to be fine. It's not. But as I stated earlier in the video, they do plan on addressing transcendence and elixirs. So it might be a really good idea to park characters at 1580 and hope that they give some sort of gold nerfs or RNG nerfs to elixirs and transcendence. That way they won't be as painful for your other characters. But unfortunately, I wouldn't expect that to come anytime soon. We're maybe looking at summer plus for them to even talk about it. With that being said, if you liked the video, give me a like and a sub. Comment below if you've changed how you handle your roster and what made you change. Or if you didn't change, just do it.